page.
It is.
On the Facebook and on Twitter.
Let me go to sports then.
Dang, I must have got your at wrong.
Shop talking with
It's shop talking. Okay.
shop talking.
Yeah. Yeah. I put shop talk with. So I'll change that next time.
Okay.
What you been up to today?
Recording. We doing these divisional crossovers, so recording and trying to give me some rest, man. Ran to this little soul food joint, masked up and ran to this little soul food joint.
Oh, what's the name of it?
Sweet Mama.
That's off Main Street.
Accessory. Austin's is the one on Main Street, but I wanted to get somebody else a little taste. I've been trying to spread a little money around a little bit.
I gotta go get me one of them. I got me today is Tuesday, so I got my don't mind me. I'm gonna be eating.
All right. Hey, so because of my little confidentiality agreement, we're not gonna really call this a podcast, right? Like if I'm a
No,
reoccurrence. Yeah, we it's a live shit. We just a live recording.
it's a live. This is a
Yeah,
live recording, man. This ain't no
yeah.
edit. This is just me and you chopping it up.
That's all we doing, brother. You know what I mean?
Technically, you're a guest on a sports den publication,
There you go. Good.
which is a radio show. Just so we make sure everybody understands that, so nobody gets in trouble.
Yep.
All right. Well,
They love me though, so
let's
they
see
ain't
what we
they ain't
got.
gonna trip too hard.
Yeah,
Numbers is up.
that's where it's gonna go. Well, listen, man. The only thing that matters is the numbers, man.
That's
Um,
all.
your boy proved that on Sunday night.
Oh,
Um,
Jordan.
yeah, as long as you got the numbers, you're straight.
Yeah, I'm enjoying that shit though. It's helping my sons understand. Well, I don't want to do the show before the show. It's cool.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, because we could talk about that. All right, all right. Ready? All
Let's
right.
go.
This your boy. Let's go. Let's get this started. This your boy at Big Game James underscore 36 with Anthony Wiggins. Just chopping it up live. Not really doing anything impromptu. Cinco de Mayo. So enjoy your tacos and and your tequila.
Man,
Um,
I gotta teach a class, man, at 5 o'clock, man. I can't do it.
okay, I'm not mad at you. Shout out to Vita de Louis. This is a company with some bunch of gators, but they got good tequila, so I gotta
Mm.
give them. I gotta give them love. So don't judge me on Seminole faithful. Or my spelling. I gotta edit that. Gotta work on this. But anyways, though, it's a little bit of things going on with the Jag world that I wanted to chop it up with you about, but also I wanted to there's some other things going on, so we'll see how that goes, and we'll just see where it goes in the next 30, 40, however long we're on. Obviously, you have a
However,
you have a job, so
man, I ain't. You got me at least for an hour and 12 minutes, bro.
all right, well, cool, we're good with that. So we were already getting on it, so some people kind of heard us talk. So as I've been taught by a mentor of mine in the game, guy you might know, Chad Scott, never buried a lead. So
Do I know Chad?
Sunday, Sunday we were talking. Sunday, every Sunday the last couple of weeks, and for the next 2 weeks, there's a great documentary if nobody's paid attention to it called The Last Dance, talking about the Chicago Bulls' last national championship run. So we didn't talk about this last week. Last time I got at you, we were just talking about the draft or whatever, some other things. But what is this? What does this mean to you? And you said you got a chance to get some family bonding with it as well.
Yeah, my sons, man. Because there's certain things about history that you can't tell people what made somebody, in your opinion, the greatest. It's almost like you had to have been there type thing. Like they look at old Richard Pryor stuff, and they're like, okay, it's funny, but it's kind of dated, and it's not as funny as Chappelle, or it's not as funny as like Mike Epps right now. But what they don't get is that, hey, you had to be there to understand that. You know what I'm saying? So the phenomenon of Michael Jordan, to me, Bomani Jones he was running the Jumpman Twitter page the first weekend, and he said basically nobody was better at their job than Michael was at his. I disagree with him. There's one person I think was better at his job than Michael Jordan. That's Michael Jackson. I think Michael Jackson, and I'm talking about from little Michael all the way to Remember the Time Michael. I'm talking about little Michael Jackson. I don't think there was ever anybody that did anything better than Michael Jackson. And that doesn't mean he's your favorite, because he's not my favorite. But I just think he excelled at his job better than anybody else. Well, then you look at Ali. Ali lost a lot too. So you go back and you look at guys like Mayweather, they're undefeated. And then when I tell my son Ali was better, he had to be there and understand the time and understand what was going on. So I think from that perspective, they now see what this fascination is with Mike. And there was always this perception that those guys weren't very athletic that he was playing against. And I was like, have you ever seen Tom Chambers when he dunked on somebody and he damn near hit his knee on the rim? Jordan won championships against Sean Kemp. Sean Kemp would embarrass half these dudes right now. And
Well,
it's
hold
not
on.
the
To
guy.
his defense, though, he got dunked on by a guy who bagged groceries by his own admission,
Right,
in
right,
John
right,
Park.
right,
So
right.
it's a little bit of truth to it.
No, no, there's a little truth to that too, but there's also truth to, there's a guy who won the Super Bowl MVP and he's a Super Bowl champion. He's in the Hall of Fame that was bagging groceries too, and that's Kurt Warner.
That's
So
fact.
so the thing is Jordan though, and this is one of the things that it showed when they show the late '90s stuff. So I'm thinking like people think he ain't play against modern day players, but then they quick to point out that AI crossed him over. AI ain't modern day. Vince Carter ain't
Yeah,
modern day.
definitely
When
might be.
Vince Carter let Jordan start in the game. They showed the other day they were in the locker room. You ain't see Penny Hardaway sitting right there. I mean, those dudes. Gary Payton wasn't modern day. Yeah, they were. Kobe wasn't modern day. You see, yeah. Jordan was still the best player in the league when those guys came into the league. He was still the best player in the league. So he played against the older guys, but he also played against some of these younger guys that everybody looks up to as well.
Facts. I mean, I'm going to leave. I want to be respectful to Michael
Right.
Jordan, the player, and he was the great. He did get he. Then he got mad at me when I said he's. If we want to compare him to somebody, we got to compare him to Lennox Lewis, because Lennox Lewis got all the beat all the greats of his time. He just
Right.
beat them on the way out the door. But he did dominate the guys who were emerging, your Kobe's, your AIs, your like you brought up a good thing. People don't know about Sean Kemp and Deadlift Shrimp. A lot of people don't even realize how good Deadlift Shrimp was, who you
Derek
had at that
Coleman. Derek Coleman. I mean,
time.
yeah.
You had two 6'10" guys at small forward and power forward at a time when that wasn't really the norm. 6'6" will get you 6'6" is what will get you a power forward. So, but I think in this last one we got an opportunity to really see what I've always told people and suggested, that my generation we believe Mike is the best, not because we really got a chance to appreciate Mike. We were marketed. Mike was the best marketed basketball player up until LeBron, which is the only reason LeBron is even on the same stratosphere, because will be the first. Well, technically, he has $1 billion contract on paper, but we'll see how it goes. But to hear Chuck sing the Like Mike song during the thing
I know, right?
was dope, and which I'm like, that's really like we had people drinking. I mean, arguably two of the worst Gatorade flavors ever created,
Yeah.
yellow and orange, out of glass bottles. That's how you know you have impact. And even his shoes, the Jordan ones, in are cool to wear, but are not practical actually any of the Jordan shoes are not practical as athletic shoes. I wear on every Monday on the sports bin. I wear a pair of Jordans. I've worn a pair of Jordans out of respect. So and none of them which are comfortable as my Yeezys or my Adidas shoes that I like to wear. So
Mhm.
I'll put that out there. But it's respect, it's iconic, and also as people get on me, and my mother, who's probably going to listen to this, is going to hate the fact that I have shoes that I paid a couple $100 for, but I have to remind her that those shoes that I paid a couple $100 for, one of them is a $800 shoe. Like
Right.
I can resell that thing tomorrow if I really because of, especially how I wear shoes. I'm nowhere near as bad as I was growing up, where she would not put that kind of money down on some shoes for me to
Yeah.
just beat them up or have to beat somebody up at school for.
Yeah. I only
Um,
bought two my whole life. I bought the sixes. Which ones did I buy? I bought the sixes and the ones. We wore the ones in high school. Now I've had multiple pair because relationships, people giving them to me. But we wore the ones in high school. We wore the black and red ones, not the white with the red and the black. We wore the ones that were all black and red that we wore in my junior year in high school. And the thing too, and the one thing I hate though is the automatic. And I know you just did it, but you didn't do it the way I don't like. I can't stand this automatic. As soon as Jordan does something, you go to LeBron.
hmm,
Charlemagne said something the other day. He said, "Now if Jordan couldn't handle that kind of scrutiny without social media, that's why I respect LeBron so much because now everything." And see, I see it the other way, and this is my investigative mind. The reason why I see it the other way is this: because there was no social media, there was like a wall built up. If you build a wall around a house, people will climb that wall to see what's in it, and they'll clamor. They'll stack on top. But if you build a gate around the house, people can see it all the time. They just walk past it and take a look and keep moving. I looked at it as like this: because there was no social media, that made people more hungry and thirsty to find out everything. Paparazzi and they're always doing like this.
hmm.
So the scrutiny to me was higher because when they did get a little, when they got, if you gave them this much, if you gave them this much, James, they took this
They're gonna
much,
take it.
right? So with social media, you get to control your own narratives more, and the transparency is there. So I don't look to see what LeBron's doing every day. I don't look to see what nobody's doing every day. Maybe Drea, but other than that, that's about it. But back then, man, you can't tell me that it wasn't worse then. I haven't. I talked about Michael Jackson. Have you seen people passing out the way they were in Bucharest when he went to that concert? You don't see that these days.
Remember the concert where it was a Super Bowl. You only get so many minutes in the Super Bowl.
On him. Yep.
He spent what 3 minutes where he didn't say nothing, and
Nothing.
everybody was going wild.
Yeah, I
That,
think people probably missed some of it because they probably fainted before his ass opened his mouth. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of see it differently than a lot of these new guys. And the only reason I ever have that discussion with 22, 23 year olds, and they always get mad and think you're being an old head. You know, I have that discussion. The only reason I have that discussion is they look at LeBron and say, he's the GOAT.
hmm.
And I go, no, he's not. So,
Well, the
and they
reason
go,
why
and they
I
go,
just tell
why?
people
And I say, because I saw them both and you didn't. I
right,
saw them
and
both
so
and you didn't.
here's also what people tend to forget is that these kind and we've seen it in this documentary is that Jordan went through the same thing with MJ, with excuse me, with Magic, with Bird, with Isaiah, with
Yeah,
all these
yeah.
other different things. Every generation, and every generation is going to have their one. They're going to have that person that they clamor to. What I like to do is I enjoy both. I
Of course.
enjoy the greatness that is LeBron, and what I tell a lot of old heads is the problem is when we are talking about MJ, we are talking about this documentary. Majority of people automatically bring in LeBron. Like, oh, you see that LeBron couldn't do that. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Whose documentary is this? We should be focused on the
Exactly.
great person and not who didn't do this. Because in 30 years, I can tell you this: what people won't do. I say that now, unless there's another great athlete that comes up, which more than likely will happen. Is we're not going to say, oh, you see, LeBron did this and he's chasing ghosts. I'm like, no. Um, Actually, to quote my favorite rapper, Jay Z, and most kings get their head cut off. He's like, is he better than Big? Is he better than Pac? How am I supposed to win? They got me chasing ghosts. Michael Jordan can't dribble another basketball. Michael Jordan played his entire career against man defense. No, it was illegal defense when you put the zone. Would he be able to compete like this? He will, because he was able to do it with the Wizards when they had implemented that, because AI was so deadly with his crossover that they had to do something. But you can't lie to me and tell me, especially this, that a 6'9", a guy who played a majority of his career, especially his young career, at 6'9", 285, running fast as your favorite tight end, some wide receivers, couldn't play in the 80s.
Yeah, he
Because
could have played. Of course he
if he
could.
gets a step on you, there's no way you're stopping
I
that. Like,
think,
I don't care how hard you found him.
yeah, I definitely think he could have played in the 80s. I think my criticism of LeBron, indifferent from the generations, was always, Magic said it years ago when San Antonio was about to eliminate them. Magic said the problem with LeBron is he's a wind-up player. He gets the ball 30 feet from the basket. He dribbles. He winds up. Now he goes. If it doesn't work, he'll pass it somebody and tell them to give it back to him, and he'll wind it up again. My criticism about LeBron is not him. My criticism about LeBron is, because of his strong personality and because of the power that he has to get guys fired, and like Magic got Paul Westhead fired. So because of that power that he has, I think too many times he tries to dress his own table too much. Whereas when folks say, well, he never had a Popovich or he never had a Phil Jackson. You know why he never had a Popovich or a Phil Jackson? Because he didn't allow a Popovich or a Phil Jackson to become a Popovich. Popovich was an assistant under Larry Brown, and Phil Jackson was a dude that came out of the CBA. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, these people had to allow them, and Kobe didn't allow Phil to do it the first time around. You have to allow these guys to build a system. And I saw a little clip that Phil called Michael in to sit down and talk to Kobe to make him stop being such a one-on-one guy and learn how to depend on his people more. And you notice the thing about Mike is Mike depended on his people way more than people give him credit. They gave him credit back in the day. And the other thing that my son saw was this. They thought from Mike's inception into the league that he was accepted by everybody. That is not true. They called him selfish. They called him a showboat with the gold chain and the tongue. They talked about his shoes. They talked about his long baggy shorts. They talked about the fact that for 6-7 years he couldn't win because he was selfish. They did all of that stuff, bro. At first, Mike was just a marketing guy who was just busting people's ass like James Harden, but he was doing it on both ends of the court. People really thought he couldn't win. So, and in terms of the style of play that you talk about, I think the biggest factors is this with LeBron. The criticism I always had of him is he had no in-between game. It was either all the way to the basket or it was a three-point shot. I think back then, because the lane was so clogged with Shaq, Kareem, and Robert Parrish and McHale, you had 4 7-footers in the lane. You weren't just going to the basket like that. So for everybody that tells me at 6'9", 280, do y'all remember Shaq? When Shaq's first 5-6 years in the league, he was 7'1", about 280, running like a gazelle. Mm-hmm. You think Shaq don't let LeBron come in there like that? No, he wasn't doing that. Nobody was running in there on Shaquille O'Neal that way. They was dunking on Mourning. They wasn't dunking on Shaq like that and the thing about it is there was always 4 people in there. So your in-between game had to be crazy, not just your jump shot. Because the one thing about the perimeter defenders, if they know the lane is clogged, now they'll crowd you more and they will armbar you to death and they'll hold you off your spot. I always thought LeBron wasn't selfish enough. And that's a good thing, but I always thought he wasn't selfish enough to. I think Jordan, these rules average 50 points a game. He averaged 37 one year.
I don't see that.
The only reason I see it, here's the reason I see it, because the floor is so spread. James, they couldn't stop him when the lane was clogged. Now, with stretch fours, with the floor being spread, man, nobody wouldn't be able to stay in front of him.
No, I don't think he would do that because he wouldn't be able to get the volume of shots off that he was able to get some nights. Because people would not see the difference between that league. Maybe it was respect, but the first thing that told me something is, and I saw Kendrick Perkins talk about how these guys are soft, and I laughed, I chuckled because I seen Scottie Pippen just let Charles Oakley just
slap him.
That's not gonna happen in this league. Like these young bucks will be these young bucks. You're gonna have to beat respect into every one of these young bucks. And the difference between them, and here's the thing that people tend to take this as disrespect, but it's because of guys like Shaq, because of guys like Jordan, because of guys like Kim, because of guys like Dominique, because of guys like Zeke. You see more of those guys in the NBA now, and a lot of those guys, whether you want to admit it or not, are now role players.
Hmm.
Like some of these guys who are role players could have been superstars in the
No doubt.
like for example, Dan Marley is good. Don't
Hmm.
get me wrong, but Dan Marley is guarding like to see Dan Marley guard Michael Jordan, like it's just right now, and he was a good defender then.
He was a
But
good
like
defender.
now, but now you look at it and you're like, that's why people say like, dude, that's a plumber. But they might not realize that that plumber
To play.
was the truth. He's just not Michael Jordan. So 6'6", what was he? Well, I think he got up to 215, 230, maybe at the max.
Oh, Jordan
When
at
he
the
was,
end,
yeah, what did
at the end, yeah, when he started lifting weights, he got 215, 220.
okay, so 266, 215 with a 40-inch vertical. He was the apex athlete. There were other ones that were good. He was the apex athlete. The
Dr.
difference
J,
is,
Connie Hawkins, you're right. There were guys.
yeah, but like guys before, but like like right now, 6'6", 215 with a 40+ inch vertical, you go on every team. You can find one to two of those guys. And it's not to knock Jordan, it's just the athlete is just so much better now.
Yeah,
So
it's like
which is why, like I heard, was it Drexler? I forgot which this episode, but they were saying they gave him the best move. No, I was listening to the Iverson talk. Iverson gave him his best move and then shot it off, and Jordan still was long enough to almost deflect the shot and athletic enough. You've got more of those guys here, like in the rules, and then even other parts too is what people really don't really want to talk about is the real Jordan rules wasn't what the Pistons did to him. The real and you heard Magic, you heard those guys
can't touch him.
imply it. You can't touch them. So that's why when I laugh when people say LeBron's always whining, but let's figure out who LeBron watched this from. Like
Hmm.
go back and watch the game. You see him give that scowl to the ref. The difference is them refs knew that he was the face of the NBA, but
Right.
now it's a little bit different. You got a Steph Curry who can manage the West Coast. You got a LeBron who can manage international if you want to. You got guys like Dwayne Wade who was there, but it's a bunch of different personalities that really fuel it, that really drive it. But then it was Jordan, and I do remember. And people like say, James, you don't remember it like live and playing it. You're right. I don't remember it live and playing, but what I do remember is going to basketball practice and emulating what I saw on SportsCenter, which is what kids do now.
Right. Well,
And Atlanta's bad basketball.
after the 69-point game in Boston, that was a Sunday. We met up at the court like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and we played till the lights came on. And because he just had us like that bent. And the other thing that's not a stat that you can measure, and it's not about the thing that made him great is also probably the thing that didn't make him a good person. All he cared about was winning. I wouldn't want to be around somebody like that. Like constantly, bro. Everything was a competition.
Right.
Everything. Like, like the closest thing I've seen it obviously is Kobe, but LeBron has some of it too, and I think people give him a bad rap that he has it. Kawhi Leonard got it too. Kawhi don't give a
Hmm.
damn about it. No, he won't shake your hand if you're his teammate. He just it's like it's unreal. The one thing that I did come away from the of it all was this: in his death, we everybody loved Kobe Bryant, and now in retrospect, that whole narrative about people not wanting to be around him is not true. Everybody that you see, whether it's Jason Tatum, whether it's the Greek Freak. I remember Wade won his first title in '04, and they said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "I'm going to take a 2-week vacation, then I'm going to LA to work with Kobe." So it's like that myth that guys didn't like being around him was not true. The other thing is obviously I missed the dude, but the thing that I take away from this is he was in the shadow of Mike, and rightfully so, and we understand. The other thing is he never had the streets. AI had the streets for Kobe's first 10, 12 years. Kobe never had the streets like Mike because Kobe was considered the dude that spoke 7 languages from Italy, had a silver spoon in his mouth, was rich. His dad played in the NBA. AI was the Tupac of the NFL. He had the
Right.
street. So
Without a
Kobe
doubt.
didn't have the streets. And then Shaq had the other crowd, the Space Jam type crowd, the big lovable sheriff dude. And then him and Shaq had a public issue. So the thing that I love about Kobe was he didn't give a damn about none of that, bro. He just was gonna cut your throat. And that's that thing that I'm talking about in retrospect. When you look back, that you really don't understand why Kobe was so polarizing, is because Shaq had the Jordan marketing side of things, and AI had the streets. So a lot of people didn't like Kobe on both sides. You know what I'm saying? So it was just crazy, man. And looking back now and seeing their relationship, and Jordan had that respect for him. Jordan knew that boy was coming. He said it. He said that he called him a little Laker boy. I was like, he said that little Laker boy gonna make you play him 1-on-1. I just love that part of it, man. And I just love how the guys around MJ had that reverence for him. And then you were talking about Chuck. Charles don't get nobody no credit. Charles said that's when he realized that he knew that somebody on this earth was better than him.
Right.
And it's that mental side. And you know this, James, from when you played over in Tallahassee, and you was around those alphas like that, bro. It's just something about that dude when he walk into a room. It's like a God complex. And I think Eddie Murphy said it best. He said they were at some party in Hollywood. He was in there with Mike Tyson and Magic Johnson, and he says a lot of stars. It was just like a Grammys or the Oscars or something. He said Michael Jackson walked into the room and the hair on the back of his neck stood up. And it's just
Chappelle talked about, well, Charlie Murphy talked about it on the Chappelle show when he seen Rick James. You saw his aura. I'm trying to think who's the first. Like, there's only one person. Well, there's two. I joke around. If you follow me on social media, you guys would know about my about the first woman to ever shut me up would be Josina Anderson. She did it twice. She did it at Jalen's event at Top Golf, and then when I seen her at the Combine at the Black Writers Association thing. Like I said, it was weird. Anyways, but the point is, Jay-Z might be the only person that makes me shut up. But you meet some people, and I say that, but then you meet some people, and their energy comes into the room, and their presence makes you different.
I heard he's like that too, though. I heard Jigga's like that. I heard he's the same way. That there's just something about him when he comes into the room that's like that, and he has that effect on people.
And you talk about the streets, which I think Jordan's edge in the beginning is what gave him some credit, but he distanced himself from it. But I think he had such a hot commodity, and again, he was a person marketed to really everybody, but in particular us. And hip hop embraced him in the beginning and never let him go. But Mike don't really fuck with hip hop like that and rap. Noriega has a good podcast, and talk about it, where he went to a Def Jam party and the only person that he talked to was Jay-Z. Everybody else didn't exist. And there were some guys who were big time hot during that time. DMX, Noriega himself was hot, and a bunch of other guys as well.
Let me tell you why I have no problem with that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because me and you are kind of like advocacy type people. We advocates, and the one thing I think you got this characteristic too. But one thing you notice about me, I don't like nobody bullying. I hate bullies. If I see somebody bullying somebody, I'll take up for them. That's just what it is. So, I'm like a born advocate, man. That's just, I think I got a Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Medgar Evers gene in me somewhere. I don't want people that don't have that to talk about social stuff. Right. I don't want you to. If it's not in you, don't do it. I heard Roland Martin talk about that Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte told him a story about they were down south during Jim Crow, during that Mississippi burning time, and they were in the trunk because they were going town to town to town to town, and they was getting chased by like trucks of white people from town to town to town with guns and torches. And so when they finally got somewhere safety, Belafonte, who was an advocate, who had that spirit about him, said Portier, who was willing to help and do his part, got out and jumped out and said, "Look, Negro, I love you to death, but the next time I'm gonna just write a check. This ain't me. It's not for everybody." And too many times, what we have people that, especially now, these days where everything is so political, we have people. Oprah's one of them. I wish Oprah just shut up. I ain't gonna even lie to you, bro. They open their mouths as if they really really understand the issues because they're confusing their platform and their perspective with
Right.
how much knowledge they actually have about something. So there's nothing you hate worse than being passionate about something and then a powerful person just talking out of their ass, because what's going to happen eventually, you might agree with a lot of stuff they say. Eventually they're going to say something. It's almost like a lawyer. Don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. If they don't
Right.
really know a lot about it, they will say something that is going to be counterproductive to the movement. I don't mind Mike saying, "Look, I sit to do some money. I didn't know no better." Now, I think it's a little ignorant, but it also shows his myopic approach to winning games. That's all he gave a damn about, and that's all he cared about.
Well, one, Mike, there's one thing that's apparent that anybody, and again, anybody who I have some friends, my older friends, my guy named Dibby, a couple other people who just think I hate Jordan, which I'm like, is not the case. As my boy Reggie, our guy Reggie, brought it up. He was like, "Whose shoes do you have?" I don't own a pair of LeBrons, but I have a wall full of J's. So I mean, I support the man's business, and I support anybody's right to be active or not be active. But there are certain things that should, as a human, touch you and force you to at least say, "Damn, that's fucked up." Like, and
Yep.
that's really where I've never seen that. Like, for example, perfect example, this thing that happened about an hour north of us in Brunswick, Georgia. I don't know all the details.
Right.
I've read enough of it. I'm not. I know some people in Brunswick. I know enough to where I can say, "Yo, that's fucked up."
That's
And
not right.
MJ doesn't even give you a like, even just because everybody wants to try to make it seem like it's the Republicans buy sneakers. Trust me, I know there's a ton of Republicans that follow me. I'm a Republican myself. There's a ton of Democrats, there's a ton of moderates, there's a ton of other people who buy stuff from me or support me and represent me. I judge people on an individual basis unless it's the topic. I have no problem. I know what I am. At the end of the day, I am a 6 foot, 275 pound African American male with a beard and dread. There's sometimes I look like I'm Taliban, there's sometimes I look like I'm Dominican, and there's sometimes I look like a Rasta, and there's sometimes I look like I might rob you, especially if I got a mad face on. But and I know I'm fully aware of those things and the things that happen. It doesn't mean that I'm finna go and you'll see me in front of a BLM march, but I can also say that a guy who gets gunned down is wrong. And I think that's the thing that most people crave more out of Mike. It's not a huge statement. It's just a inkling of humanity. But one thing that the only person that Michael Jordan cares about is Michael Jordan and his greatness. So I give him props in the world. He's very consistent when it comes to that. And if you can help him be great, you will in turn be great yourself. So
Hmm.
that's i.e. Scottie Pippen, a Horace Grant, bringing in a Dennis Rodman, who at that point had been cast off but was still great. Tony Kukoc, who they beat up, but they brought,
And they,
but
and
at
they,
the
and they
same
loved
time
him to
brought in.
death at the end of
Yeah,
the day. Yep.
yeah. So I mean, those are the things that I think when people really are talking about Jordan, like you didn't have to support that guy that was running, but the guy who he was running against, you don't have to know his issues. To be honest with you, there's some racist people, racist politicians who have actually done really good things for the black community. Lyndon B.
Yep.
Johnson being one of them.
Yep.
A lot of people do it when it's the right time, but you can clearly see what his stances were in North Carolina, and you could have just been like,
Bro, he
Then
said
the second thing was
after he won
that
the election, he said there's no celebration in Mudville.
exactly. So I mean, we knew where he's taking the shot. But the other thing too is I know me deep down, and actually two things that this documentary did early on is they let us know how important Miss Jordan was
Mm.
and Michael. If he don't respect anybody, respect her. If Carmen Coleman comes like Carmen Coleman has saved a lot of people's ass because she knows how her son is very much so. I am very much so James Anthony Coleman Sr.'s boy. Whether people know my story, whether he was there all day, mentally, that mess got passed down. And when I want you done, is Zoom focused. I don't care nothing about you. It's only one person that can snap me out of that. Well, typically,
Hmm.
consistent. That's my mama. My mama tell me, hey, cut it out. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna cut it out. If my mama tells me she needs some money for an AK event, if I got it, here you go, mama, because that's my
Yep.
mama. But I like how they painted her. To be honest with you, Phil Knight needs to put a statue on Oregon's campus of Mama Jordan.
No
But
doubt.
I also love the way that Mama Jordan talks about Mr. Jordan. Did you
Mhm.
notice? Did you notice that?
Yep.
I was like, man, that's some old deep South backwoods stuff. Like Mr. Jordan
Yep.
does this, Mr. Jordan does that. She talked about that man like he was still alive, and
Like
like what
he's
she's not
king.
going to do is disrespect her man,
That's
who
right.
is clearly dead.
That's right. I'm glad you talked about though that stuff up in Brunswick, man, because I put out a post the other day because what I'm sick of people doing is, first of all, you know how many calls I get from people that I've known for 30 years saying, bro, you've been saying this since back in 91. When I talk about how I don't like Donald Trump, it ain't got nothing to do with him now. I couldn't stand him in 1988, bro. And people know that. I hate it when rappers used to come out and say they want to be like him because they didn't understand who he was. So my thing is don't think, and I put this post out like people saying little shit about me or sneak dissing or going to my DMs, you know, want to talk about respect and all of this shit. The thing is I don't need no mainstream media. I'm a member of the media. The fuck I look like listening to the mainstream media to come up with my opinions about shit. They don't brainwash me like that. And so whenever you are a strong-minded individual, people love to think that you brainwashed by whatever news outlet that they don't like or think that you feel that way. But I felt this way for 30 years. You know who else I didn't like? Bill fucking Cosby. I couldn't stand his ass.
A
And
lot
I
of people
couldn't I couldn't stand him because of the way he treated Richard Pryor, Red Fox, even Jamie Foxx when he came up told the story. Eddie Murphy
Eddie Murphy.
was like how he was trying to make them all button up and respectable, and he around here dropping Spanish fly in people drinks and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody doesn't have to act like you.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody don't have to act like me for me to fuck with them. You know how many knuckleheads I know that I really like, but they do stupid shit, and I'd be like, "Come on, bro, you back in jail? What's the problem?" How many clients I have that I really think are good people? How many white people that I fuck with that's from where the houses are 2 miles apart, and they really ain't rocking with my ass politically, but I fuck with them because they G and they honest. You know what I'm saying? People get mad at me when I go to a concert with the mayor. I'm a registered Democrat, right? I voted for him because I believed in what he was doing. I ain't vote for DeSantis, and I'm gonna tell you that right now. So my thing is just like you just said, I try people by their spirit. Do I agree with everything the mayor does? Hell nah. And I don't have to. And he knows that. Do I agree with Dave Caldwell like you talked about my Caldwell? Hell no. But that don't stop me and Dave Caldwell from chilling and talking to each other and treating each other with respect because we rock because of the things that we have in common. We don't allow the things that are indifferent to cause us to not get along. So I just can't stand when people do that. But they do it in sports too. And that's why, you know, I try to tell some people to just put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to go back to a time to kill and say, imagine they was white. But you see all them people storming the state office building with them guns and shit? You think some black people from 45th Street gonna be able to do that without getting their ass laid down? Nah. So when we say privilege, that's what the fuck we talking about. That's it right there. And you don't get it. I'm not saying that we should be allowed to run up in the state house with guns. I'm just telling you, we would never in our wildest fucking imagination try no shit like that.
Well, let's talk about privilege. And I think what people don't understand is they hear privilege and you look, oh, well, I don't have to work. No, that's not what it means. I have privileges. You just talked about it. I'm in the media. I get a privilege to go see stuff that most people don't get to see from a certain view. I have Florida State privileges. You can't watch the Florida State game the same way that I can go watch a Florida State game. It's just different. We all have, but here's the thing. I worked my ass off to get those privileges. It doesn't mean that I don't have special treatment or automatically have a special thing. It doesn't mean I didn't work for it. So that's all certain people say. And people who don't really recognize that, I believe you're playing dumb. And again, I ain't mad at you. I wouldn't trade that. You wouldn't trade me. I'm young, got a pretty decent house, got pretty decent bread,
Mhm.
good credit. And if JSO, who I know a lot of great JSO officers, but if JSO is right behind us, I guarantee you wouldn't trade places with me. because again, I'm still 6 foot, I'm still 275, still got dread, still got a beard, still got brown skin. That being said, it just kind of is what it is. But I rock with Mayor Curry. I respect the title. I rock with Mayor Brown. Respect the title. I've actually done more things with Mayor Curry than I did with Mayor Brown, believe it or not. And
Yeah,
we
man.
supposed to have more. We
I
supposed to have more in common.
Me and Mayor Brown, I ain't never said nothing to him a day in my life. All I ever said was they needed a damn haircut and a good barber. That's it.
He did me. And it's Taylor. I used to talk to my good
Right,
friend Freeman. I'm like, hey T, we gotta get to him. You're the mayor. It really does. People, it really don't cost that much to get your suit tailored.
right.
You can go to the Arabs over at KNG. I hope that's not offensive, but they are Arabic and I don't know their names, but they do work at KNG. And you go into the back, they'll clean you up really really nice. The old man is for people who kind of got that old style. Go to that old man. But the young dude, for my younger brothers, the young dude gonna get you feeling like you got an Italian cut suit. And that's free
Mhm.
puff. They're just really good at their job, so I don't need them to give me a check. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
But
hey, but you're right. But check this out, James, man. It's like the story you just told, right? They had a roadblock at the stadium one time for something. It was like doing a practice, but I had to go do the show with Dempsey and them one morning. And they had, I think somebody was running or some shit, and they had the street block. So the dude was waving people through. I stopped. He said, "Move, go, damn it!" I said, "Bro, I got to do a radio show. I'm late. Is there a way? How? Just tell me how can I get in?" He said, "T-Wigg, oh, hey, yo, bro, come on, come this way." You see that? So
I've had that happen plenty of times.
I understand privilege and I understand how that works and I get it. But the thing is man, is if you ain't in somebody else's shoes, man, you need to just pause on all of this. I just can't stand people telling me where the hell I'm getting news from and what I'm thinking. It's like when I was in the service and the job that I had when I was in the military, we knew stuff. We would watch the news and hear what they were saying and be like, that ain't true. When I hear them talk about stuff that happened in the streets when I was closer to the street than I am now, I look and go, that ain't true. You know what I'm saying? That ain't the way this go. And being in a barbershop, bro, especially an urban barbershop, you
Keep it
usually
coming.
hear shit way before channel 12, channel 4, channel 30. You hear something be like, when an arrest is imminent because stuff starts floating around. You know what I'm saying? So it's like my point to tell them was like, my opinions come from my walk every day, bro. My opinions don't come from me watching nobody. You think I'm that stupid that I'm just gonna let some dude sitting in the studio in Atlanta or New York determine the way I think? If you don't like the way I think, that's your opinion, and I'm cool with it. But don't sit here and tell me where I heard it from. I live it. That's where
A
I
lot
feel.
of this is when I knew about media, and I've been doing this radio 6 years. This is year six, yeah. So we're not at the end. We're well into year six. It's when I made a comment. I'm talking about T-Wigg. I was proud of myself. Like I went, nobody had took this stance. I hadn't heard anything, and I don't even listen to 1010 a lot of the time. I don't listen to 1010. Don't listen. Well, 930 ain't here no more, but 690. I sometimes I'll gain it because I rocks with Brent and I rocks with Dad, I
Austin.
can't think of the man. Yeah,
Austin.
Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I really don't listen for a lot of facts because I want to be able to come with my own opinion. And I
Mhm.
was doing my research on the blah blah blah, and I said it. And it was like boom. But then he was just like, "Yo, that's a good one, man." I have at Publix, and I hear somebody else spit what I said verbatim, and it made like it was like it was their opinion.
They
And that's
owned
when I
it, right?
learned. That's when I learned. I'm like and that's why again platforms are important. What MJ has, what Braun, what a lot of these guys have is important. But you brought up a really solid point. You don't know nothing. I don't talk about what I don't know about. But when I that as as fact, very few people have an opportunity to speak, and people are going to listen, and they are influenced. Very few people. If you ain't giving out the information, and you only listen to one source, you only listen to news for you. You are influenced by what another man has said, and you are no more woke than anybody else.
No, man. And we was just talking about that. I was telling my barber class about that because there are like a lot of barbers in the city. Now, it's gonna be a real touchy issue. So, by the way, if I have offended you and you're not black, trust me. For every one of y'all I offend two black people. Believe me. Okay. Now, it's some guy saying I ain't scared to cut no hair. What y'all scared of? Get back in the barbershop. This ain't about no fucking fear. This is about wisdom. Like you talking about being scared, and I know a Grammy nominated gospel artist that died last week, and he's a year older than me. It ain't about no damn fear. It's about one of my followers on Twitter. He overseas. He lost his uncle, right? I mean, it's like this ain't that. So my thing is I'm a leader, not a follower. So go lead. Get your ass back in the barbershop and cut hair in. You don't need what you need an army of people to agree with you before you do what it is you say you want to do. Take your ass in there and cut hair in. And they sitting here talk about, well, we trained in sanitation and bro, I've been a barber for 27 years and we are trained in sanitation, antiseptics and disinfectants, germs, using chemicals and ultraviolet rays to clean metal equipment, barbicide. Yeah, we are trained. I'm a barber instructor, all right, at a cosmetology school. I do that from 5 to 10, 5 days a week. I teach sanitation. I don't know shit about a goddamn pandemic. Dudes acting like, oh, because we do sanitation, let us do our job. What fucking degree you got from barbering that tells you how to handle a pandemic when the goddamn scientists and the doctors don't even know what to do? I mean, it's just people, man. It's like the blind leading the blind, and it gets on my nerves because everybody want to be smart. I just respect the dude that says this. I got to take a chance because I got to go work because I'm hungry. I can't pay my bills, and I'm about to lose everything. More power to you, bro. Do it. Don't come on here acting like you some goddamn scientist because you took some sanitation classes. And don't come on here acting like everybody else because you got to work. Everybody else, like I ain't got to work in no barbershop. I'm good. My pockets ain't hurting one bit. But don't be coming on here acting like just because you got to do it, now you got to come up with some reason to justify it. And you need a whole army of people to go back with you at the same time. No, if you got to do it, go do it by all means. Take your chances. That's it. Stop all of these trying to influence everybody else. And really, they're not leaders. They're begging for followers. Leaders don't have to beg for followers. Leaders just go do what the fuck they're going to do, and people come behind them. Anytime this is what they do. They're going to take a stand, and then they do this, James. They turn around to see who coming with them. Fuck that. Go. If you're a leader, walk. Even if you got to go by your damn self, you do it.
That's why I keep I tell people that all the time. I'm like, listen, if you really feel that strongly, it's really not as closed as what you think. Like, you can go do whatever you need to do. My mama taught me, whatever you do, you got to be willing to deal with the consequences, both good and bad. And if you can deal with the consequences, both good and bad, then you can go to sleep at night. And I think, like, but here's why I tell people, here's the thing, is that it's not about me. And that's where, again, I differ from, maybe that's my thing with MJ, and maybe that's why I'm not as successful as I can be. The unfortunate thing is I can't worry about just me. I've never thought I was going to live past 21, let alone to be this good. And now I want to live as long as I can because I got kids, and I want to make sure, I would love to see them have kids and things like that. So I'm a little less reckless than what I used to be. That being said, I'm a diabetic. I have a 90-year-old beautiful lady who lives in my house. I have an 18-month-old, and I have a 6-year-old. So in my house, I have 4 people with either compromised or developing immune system. If I go out and how I earn my money outside of talking on the radio, I have to be in a large crowd. So here's the thing, and I'm good. My 2020, how I ended my 2019, and what I do right now, night and day. But what happens if I die? Like, what happens if I die? Forget the money part. Forget the money for a second. I am a generational. Again, my father is my father, and my father will watch this. I love my father for who he is and who I've learned him to be, and he did the best that he could do with the information that was provided for him. Did he still suck? But he did what he felt was right at the time, and even now he'll tell you that he was wrong. But I love the conversations that he has with his grandson. That's all that matters to me at this point. But I didn't grow up with a father. My mother didn't grow up with a father. That's important to me. So me making money, I can always go back and make some money. I can go make bread. I know how to do that. I talk enough. If I talk enough, more people will pay me. If y'all click and y'all really like me, I don't need you to give me no money. need you to do is like, tag, share, comment, so that the views go up, and somebody else will write me the check. But my point is that is what is it all worth? Is it worth going to get that $15 to $25? Actually, now that I learned that most Americans don't make over 30,000, is it worth going back to make 30,000 and die and have to
Right.
go get a GoFundMe? It's ironic how many people don't like um, universal health care, but love to put out a GoFundMe when they die or GoFundMe when they get sick, which is essentially you're using everybody else to put money into a system so that you can get yourself taken care of as opposed to voting for it, which would have been free. But technically not free. They would just diverted some tax money from somewhere else. But my point in all of that is that it's not about you. It's about the next person. Because I'd be damned if I find out that you got me sick because you were asymptomatic and I go out and I lose my son, somebody's going to have to pay for that. Again, which is why I have to be careful because I already got banned off of one platform because of me, me speaking blunt about me. But we believe in Mexican justice in my household. If I won't mess with you if you harm my kid, what I'm going to do is I want you to feel the exact same pain that I feel. So I'm going to go after your son. So that's how it's going to happen, and we're going to
Right.
go from there. So like if you sneeze on me and I get sick and I sneeze on them, I'm sneezing on your infant. How
Right.
about
Right.
that?
Right. So and we think just alike. So I even had to check myself today a little bit when I went and picked up food. I masked up. You know, check my Twitter page. You can see I had some masks made, some little fashion masks. You know what I'm talking about. And you can see the person that made them. They're right in the green area, so you can check that out. All of the information is out there. But my thing is the lady says it's good to see you out here. I said it's good for me to come. And um, I told you where I went. It was a soul food joint. It's not the normal one I go to because I've been trying to spread, my little bread around. And I didn't want to be out there long. So I called the lady and she says, well, for anything fried, we don't do it until you get here. I said, no, I'll pay by card to ensure that I'm coming. Okay. And I paid by card so it'll be ready when I got there. She was just like real gracious and real happy. I came in with mask and gloves on, and she was just like, I say, it's good to be out here. It's good to be able to do this. And I respect people that have to go back to work saying,
Mhm.
I got to go back because I'm not in a position where I got to. You feel me? The only thing I know that's going to happen is eventually I'm going to go back to cutting hair full time because of demand in the industry right now. And I want my nights back a little bit because every night I'm gone. When the school is open, I'm gone till 11 o'clock at night. And I know the demand is going to be so high for me to serve clients that I won't be able to cut it off every day at 4 o'clock like I do now just so I can go teach. And I know eventually that's what I'm going to do. So not right away. I'm going to transition back to cutting hair full time and taking appointments. But the thing is, James, is I respect people that have to go back, and I try not to be self-righteous because I don't have to. And but I just find it to be incredibly ignorant over a lot of people. It's like some people wake up every day on a soapbox to prove to you that this is either all fake or that somebody has said that it's worse than what it really is.
Right. Hey,
It's
let
not
me tell you a
worse than
crazy.
what it really is when you know somebody who fucking died and they were
Yeah.
completely healthy. I mean,
So
it's just
I know some people who's it happened to and who got it. Some recovered, some didn't. I had an uncle who didn't die of COVID. He died. He was old, he was 90 years old, but I wasn't able to go bury him in the manner in which he deserved. He was a man who lived with respect and a man that deserved more. But we'll mourn him properly when things open up.
right.
But I give a shout out to the mother of my two boys. And she's on the front lines with this shit. Like, those testing centers that you go to, she's the one who helps set them up and runs them and blah blah blah. Now she ain't got to get in front of all them people because that's the beauty of when you're an officer and you rise the ranks. You send people to die sometimes, but you send people out. You do it from
Yeah, no doubt.
the country because the comforts of a place because you earn that right. But I
No
remember
doubt.
people coming in
Yeah.
telling me we're going to do martial law. We're going to do martial law, and I'm like, yo, what's going on? I know I'm supposed to. Are we doing martial law? And she was just like, no, you dummy. That doesn't make sense. That's not our mission. We get a mission. You don't even understand. Those people don't understand the steps that it takes to go through to go to martial law. Like we ain't even prepared. That means we got to get everybody. Like bottom line, that type of movement would be known. Like it would be really known. Not just you see a couple of trucks, because you got to get people from every city, every unit activated to be able to do that. And I kept asking her, and she finally said, "Listen, dumb man, stop listening to them other people. You got a person who's a direct connect right in front of everything. Stop listening. Stop listening to other people." And I'm telling people like, "Yo," they're like, "James, they said it's gonna like." No, I'm telling you. If I was like, if she don't give a damn about me, you know who she care about? She care about them two boys.
That's right.
I mean, when y'all see a big ass dude with dreads going to Publix and buying up all the Publix, that's when you get worried. That's because you know something's coming down because he's doing it. Same thing with the stuff. I know more. People are like, "Where'd you get those stats?" I don't have to go and get the stats because I them. I can get them in real time, man. Like, and that's why I'm telling. Like, the people are like, "Why are you worried?" I said, "This is why I'm worried. It's not scared. It's a natural nervousness." And again, I want this thing to open up because that means I can go do camps. That means I can get out and about. That means I can go do more. That means that restaurant that you're going to support right now, T-Wigg, the same way that I do it, they're going to feel more comfortable writing a check to support radio.
Yep.
I understand it. 100% get it. Know what people are dealing with. If anything, we've learned that we probably spend too much money. We waste money on a lot of stuff. And me is trying to, because I've saved up money, is trying to stack my bread and not buy these shock drops that come out every weekend. And I want to get up to meet with some of my friends. One of my friends, John Chang, one of my Asian friends, I want to get up and meet him, embrace him. I got something for him. I just can't see him. I want to go see some of my my other people. We've invited you every Tuesday. We go to the Real Thing to go drink dirty. I haven't been able to do that.
And I can't. I stopped by one time though, but I was in a hurry, and I can't usually go. Right. So my thing is, you're right, man. It's like I miss all of that too. I do, man. I miss everything. But I just think that when people go, well, this hasn't been as bad as we thought. Yeah, because we had our ass in the house. That's why. And stuff got shut down. And when you ignore that, whether it be for politics or whether it be because you just want to be right.
And this is as bad as it was.
What'd you say?
What you were saying, because people want to be. I hope to God I'm wrong. I'm glad I'm wrong on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm still here. You hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. But the thing is, man, is I don't. There's sometimes when you want to be wrong about something, but it's like I ain't no damn guinea pig either. I ain't no crash test dummy just to make sure. I ain't gonna go ahead and do things because you said. Because the last time I checked, a test has never cured anything. A test diagnoses shit. So you can test all you want to. You can test me today and I can catch it tomorrow. So a test, when you go to get a blood test, it just tell the doctor what's wrong with you. You got to take something if you're sick, or preventative. You know what I'm saying?
It's a virus too, man. You could take the test today and not have it. Right. Like, that's what they tell you about that's why at a different time when I took tests pretty regularly to make sure I wasn't gonna go out like magic. They would tell me.
Okay, that's perfect though. Yeah. Because that's right. That test you take and they say you good don't mean you can go out here and be reckless tomorrow, right? That's the perfect.
You could take it in a month and have it not done anything, and you can have it because that first test just didn't detect it because it hadn't caught yet. So those are some things that you just got to realize. But we got to do this because we've been going. It's been good dialogue. Loved it. But I don't put this in these Jaguar groups. The Jaguar groups gonna get on me, because we ain't talking that Jag yet. So we got to talk about Fournette a little bit, and the running back. Forget Fournette. We won't say that. The running back room and the new addition that they've added to defense. As long as it doesn't take away from what you do on your day-to-day podcast. Just any wisdom, any knowledge you could drop on us for that.
No, it ain't gonna take nothing. I can talk about locked on what I talked about. I love the Chris Thompson signing. That's why one of my podcasts I was like, you can't tell me they shouldn't address the running back. And I even asked Dave that separately after our interview, like nobody. But then they go back and get Chris Thompson. They don't pay a whole lot for him, but Chris Thompson's a dog, man. Chris Thompson had a bad knee injury in college, and now he's had a long, productive career in the NFL. He's a dog, and he knows that offense. And Chris like 5'10", by $195, but he played like he's 6'1", 240. You know what I'm saying? So That's a real good veteran signing for them, and that's something that I think they missed for a long time. In terms of Leonard, man, the more and more I think about it, that was Coughlin's pick, and and I just think back to Doug Marrone doing interviews saying we give him the ball so much because he's our best player. So if you don't go from you don't go from thinking he's your best player to all of a sudden thinking he's expendable. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So whether people are always going to be mad about the whole Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson thing. They didn't take either one of those dudes. They ain't had nothing to do with Fournette. It had something to do with them being committed to Bortles because they were going to take Marshawn Lattimore or Adams. They had 4 players on their board. Solomon Thomas was one of them, and he ain't getting no 5th year. He was one. Jamal Adams was the other. Marshawn Lattimore was one, and then there was somebody else. I think it was DeForest Buckner, if I'm not mistaken. But if they wouldn't have taken Fournette, they still wasn't taking no quarterback. They still weren't taking no quarterback because they were committed to Blake. That is the problem with me. The fact that you were so committed to Blake, and maybe you learned from that, but you can't commit to Jan. You can't commit to other players that we all know are better. And I think that's the one thing that bothers people, especially players. It bothers them. It's like you committed to dudes and you wouldn't commit to me, and I'm proven. That bothers people, man. I think it bothers the fans too.
And the craziest thing, 2 of those people that you just talked about, they got something really in common. There's a common denominator between those 2 and the future that we just picked, and that's Rock Nation. So again, what people got to understand is that the rep and the rap gets put out about you, whether you're there or not. And if those guys are here in the next 4 to 5 years, I can promise you that CJ won't be here. Like he's gonna get out, or most of your first round picks are gonna get out at the first sign of they're happy right now. They're about to be multimillionaires in the blink of an eye. But what happens when the business comes into it and you want to become more than what you were just gotten? But I also believe I heard a lot of rumors over the weekend. They were talking about bringing in Devonta Freeman, which I believe is an even better move than Chris Thompson, who I love. Both went to Florida State. Chris Thompson, Big Ben kid from Madison County, tough as nails. But Devonta Freeman could be the guy that you can sign to a 3-year deal and have him in case they're not. You don't pick up Fournette next year. But what you don't want is a completely no veteran in your backfield. You got to have somebody that you can, some of the pieces that you believe can make plays if indeed you do draft a quarterback in next year's draft, like everybody believes that you will. Or
man, they're gonna keep Minshew, man. They ain't draft no quarterback, man. They're gonna keep Minshew, man.
And I'm actually starting to believe you because as I step back, and I can't remember his name right now. It's escaping me. But the defensive end they literally just signed. They signed him today from the Bears. He's actually not a bad pick. It's not Calais. It's nowhere near Calais.
Oh, you talking about the kid from South Florida that went to he played for the 49ers. I know you're talking about. Yeah. Aaron Lynch.
Aaron Lynch. Yeah, Aaron Lynch isn't a bad signing. You get Aaron Lynch, which it just kind of shows that they made moves to that 3-4. So moving to that 3-4, getting Miles Jack in a more athletic position where he can kind of focus in, use his athleticism, bringing in Sherbert, or however you say his name, even though I believe he's full of shit with what he said in the press conference, but that's good. Hype up the fans. Say what you got to say. He left Cleveland because he wanted to win, is what he said. So I'm like,
okay.
So you go to Jacksonville. Whatever, more power to you. But I think he's a much better. He's the presence in the middle that we haven't had since Paz. I believe he's probably a better version of Paz, more downhill even than Paz. Because what a lot of people don't realize is Paz in Buffalo made a lot of tackles, but he made a lot of tackles past the line of scrimmage. We want to make those going downhill, not catching people. So I think you have him mixed in with guys like Shaq Quarterman, who I believe will be a good first or second down linebacker. And again, I believe you're not getting rid of Jan. Jan's gonna play because the money's gonna make him play. Right. I don't care how stubborn you are. If 2.5 is different than 17, even if I gotta come in and only play 6 games, or something like that to where I manipulate it, it's still better than what I made the previous season. So
Eh,
just and I say
Yep.
6 games to keep your accrued season so he doesn't lose out on money in the back money in the future off of being stubborn. But I think if you are somehow to get unique, Josh Allen, Chase on, and then this guy right here, you move the can't get right boy from Florida, Taven Bryan, move him to the to a 5 and hope he can command some kind of double team. The part that really baffles me though about this move to the 3-4 is who is the we don't have a real nose. You don't have a nose for a 3-4. So I mean, I guess you can run a variable to make it where it looks like a bunch of a multiple set, but really you got to have a space there. Maybe the kid from
I think
Ohio
they're gonna
State
play
can do
Gunner.
that.
They're gonna play Gunner there. I think Gunner's probably gonna be your fire technique, and the kid they signed from Arizona, they gave him 18 million over like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Uh, they got Big Al Woods too, who used to play at LSU. I think they're gonna rotate at that nose guard position, but that still might leave something to be desired, man. Because uh, you know, I understand, the stop gaps and all of that stuff, but yeah, you're right. You make a good point, though. You make a good point. I'm still concerned about the safeties a little bit. I'm still concerned about the DBs.
One, I'm gonna say I get it. I want to have faith in Crib, Ronnie Harrison
Yeah,
from Tallahassee, and he rocks that 3-6, so I can appreciate that. But I get it. I get that. He's also a traditional safety in the game that's becoming more spread out, and you need to have essentially 4 cornerbacks there. That's really what the game is. As the spread is becoming more prevalent in college, offensive coordinators in the NFL are trying to figure out how to run more of those concepts, having 4 wide receivers. Again, we talked about this a little bit with basketball, but back in the day, having 1 or 2 wide receivers, like being too deep at wide receiver was a blessing. But most teams are trying to get 1, 2, 3, probably even 4 deep at wide receiver. Like,
yeah.
and you got guys that can go and that understand the routes with quarterbacks that are athletic and a running game. Like, imagine us playing KC right now with a traditional safety, one guy who's played zone coverage more than he played man, but which is what you're gonna try to do anyway. But it's a cover 3 system and not even quarters, which quarters can give a look of man. But you got him out there, and we got a bunch of other guys that nobody really knows about, and you got a running back. You got the running back that perfectly fits their system that they just drafted, if they can keep him out of trouble. With a quarterback that is a creative player from Madden, that is hell. That's hell for a defense. We may be good in the front 7, except for in the middle. We might be pie in the middle. But right now, I'm with you. That secondary is a little leaves a little bit to the imagination.
Watch Indy, man. Watch Indy.
Mhm.
Indy low key got real, real, real decent. To go along. They drafted some receivers. They got hurt last year, and then they went back for Pittman this year, the big kid that everybody's comparing to Vincent Jackson, uh, out of USC. And not only did they get him, then they came back and got Taylor, who's going to be a little bit of a switch up, a change of pace guy from Marlon Mack. So, and Taylor's a home run hitter. Even though he's kind of like Fournette in the sense that he's fast, but everybody talks about his power because he's a straight line runner. So you got to watch Indy, man. They got a real good GM up there, and they're sneaky. And I know Nuke got traded, and it turns out because he wanted to leave Houston. But Houston got you notice how Houston got faster at wide receiver with Cobb and then Cooks to go along with Fuller and Stills. I think
Mhm.
when they went to Kansas City and them dudes was running like road runners past them, I think O'Brien said we can't win unless we're fast. So they
Right.
got faster at wide receiver too. And with Deshaun being able to extend plays, you better have DBs that can run because he'll extend plays and then he'll stop and just chunk that thing right down the field.
Which is crazy. Scramble drill is one of the especially if you got wide receivers that are in tune with the quarterback.
Yep.
So that's I mean that's about it, man. I mean we could go deeper into it.
Man,
But
I ain't mean to get all political on you, but I just said, you know what, my boy is like that, so we're gonna bring a little bit of heat, and I'm not gonna apologize to anybody I offended because I ain't said nothing to offend you. You don't have to agree with us. It's all right. I still love you. You ain't gotta agree with me though. It's like my grandma. Remember you say you was raised by a woman. I was raised by a grandma. Man, my grandma would snatch a bone out of you and say, "Love you, God bless you." but you're gonna act right. You know what I'm saying?
I was the type of person that said if I offended you, then I meant it.
Yep.
so,
Yep.
so
For sure.
I don't play radio. But I mean, it's like I said, it's all about that. Their opinions, the strong opinions. Some are right, some are wrong. Their takes. You dribble and you shoot. Sometimes it goes in the basket. But I do know this. I respect people, even if I don't agree with your opinion. I respect more people who actually can have one and stand on it. So,
No
on
doubt.
that note, man, I know you got to work. You got to get prepared. Everybody, happy Cinco de Mayo. Go
Cinco
pour
de
you up
Mayo.
some tequila, drink some margaritas, and do all that other stuff, man. I'll holler at you, bro.
All right, man.